You're standing in line, 10 seconds pass, your hand is already moving toward your phone before your brain even decides to do it. You don't think about it, you just reach. But the real answer for why you do that is far stranger than habit and far older than smartphones. That twitch in your hand has a name. Researchers call it boredom. You probably think of it as small, harmless feeling, something to kill time with a scroll, a snack, a sigh. But what if boredom isn't harmless at all? What if it's one of the most powerful and dangerous signals your brain has ever produced? To understand why, you have to go back further than you expect. Not to your last meeting or your last red light or your last empty Sunday afternoon. You have to go back to a body that was built almost entirely to never sit still. For most of human history, stillness meant danger. A body at rest with nothing to occupy it. It was a body not scanning the tree line, not listening for the snap of a branch, not noticing the shift in the wind that might carry a predator scent. Boredom in that world wasn't a lazy afternoon feeling, it was a built-in alarm, a signal that screamed at you to move, to look, to do something because doing nothing could get you killed. The alarm didn't go away when the predators did, it just lost its target. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran an experiment that sounds almost like a joke until you hear the results. He put the people alone in a room with absolutely nothing to do. No phone, no book, just their own thoughts for 15 minutes. Most people hated it. Some hated it so much that when given the option to press a button and receive a mild electric shock instead of sitting with their thoughts, they pressed it voluntarily. Some pressed it dozens of times. People choose pain over boredom. Why would a feeling be so unbearable that actual physical discomfort feels like the better deal? The answer lies in how your brain defines a threat. Your brain doesn't just respond to lines and cleaves and fire. It also responds to the absence of stimulation, because for nearly the entire span of human evolution, an absence of stimulation often meant an absence of resources, opportunities, or information that could keep you alive. Boredom isn't your brain malfunctioning. Boredom is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. It's a hunger signal, not for food, but for meaning, novelty, and purpose. This is where a researcher named John Eastwood at York University changed how scientists think about the feeling entirely. Eastwood and his colleagues describe boredom as the uncomfortable feeling of wanting to be engaged in something, anything, and being unable to find it. He calls this the unsatisfied desire for satisfying activity. Notice what's missing from that definition. There is no mention of having nothing to do. You can be surrounded by chores, screens, conversations, and still feel that same hollow itch. Boredom isn't about lack of stimulation, it's about lack of meaningful stimulation, and your brain is ruthless about telling the difference. Here's where the story takes its strangest turn. Boredom doesn't just sit there quietly waiting to be solved, it pushes you hard, and it doesn't particularly care what direction you move in as long as you move. Studies on impulsive behavior have repeatedly found a link between high boredom pronouns and risk-taking. From reckless driving to substance use to compulsive gambling, psychologist Sandy Mann, who has spent years studying boredom at the University of Central Lancashire, found something almost paradoxical sitting inside their restlessness. In some of her experiments, people who were deliberately bored beforehand performed better on creative tasks afterward than people who weren't bored at all. So which is it? Is boredom a thing that pushes someone toward a dangerous shortcut, or a thing that pushes someone toward the next great idea? The uncomfortable answer is both. Boredom is not a single switch, it's a pressure valve, and what comes out depends entirely on what's available when it opens. Give a boredom brain nothing but slot machine, and it will pull the lever. Give a bored brain a blank page and pencil, and something else entirely can happen. The feeling itself isn't choosing your future, it's just generating pressure. You are the one deciding where that pressure goes. This is exactly the trap your ancestors never had to navigate, because the environment did the choosing for them. Bored on the savannah meant boredom solved itself immediately. Through necessity, there was always a fire to tend, a tool to sharpen, a horizon to scan. The world handed you your next task, whether you wanted it or not. Your brain evolved a powerful discomfort response to an activity precisely because, for almost all of human history, that response had nowhere to go except towards something useful. Now picture that exact same ancient alarm going off in a different world entirely. A world with infinite frictionless perfectly engineering escape roads sitting in your pocket. The discomfort hasn't changed. Evolution didn't have time to update it. What changed is what happens the instant that alarm rings. Erin Westgate, a psychologist who studies boredom at the University of Florida, has described how boredom essentially works like a meter for attention. It tells you that whatever you're currently doing or not doing isn't worth your mind's resources. But that mirror has no idea what counts as a good use of those resources. It just knows when something feels empty. And the modern world has gotten extraordinarily good at filling empty feelings with things that feel full in the moment and leave you emptier afterward. This is a twist most people never see coming. The apps, the feeds, the endless scroll, they aren't actually solving your boredom, they're interrupting it. Every time that alarm starts to ring and you reach for the phone before it finished ringing, you never actually let the signal complete its job. The ancient purpose of boredom was to push you towards something meaningful enough to end the discomfort permanently. Even if just for a while, a finished task, a solved problem, a real connection. Instead, modern life has built 1,000 tiny off switches that silence the alarm without ever answering its question. That's why the scroll never quite satisfies. You weren't designed to be soothed by motion, you were designed to be moved toward meaning. Think about what that means for the small, invisible moments throughout your day. The reach for the phone at a red light, the flick to a new tab mid-thought, the second episode you didn't plan to watch. None of those moments are really about entertainment. They're about an ancient survival signal getting muted before it can finish its sentence. And every time it gets muted, instead of answered, it comes back faster and a little louder. There is a strange kind of relief in knowing this. The discomfort you feel in a quiet, unstructured moment isn't a personal flaw. It isn't proof that you're lazy or broken or addicted to your phone in some unique and shameful way. It's a few 100,000 years of survival wiring, still running in your body that no longer needs to watch the tree line, still demanding that you do something with the stillness. The feeling is ancient, the traps around it are brand new. Which raises the real question, the one underneath all of this. What happens if instead of silencing that signal the instant it appears, you let it run for just a little longer? Not forever, just long enough to notice what it's exactly asking for, long enough to feel the discomfort without immediately drowning you. Some of the most original ideas in human history, the kind that came from idle walks and quiet train rides and staring out of rain-streaked windows, were never interrupted quickly enough to disappear. So the next time you're standing in a line and 10 seconds pass and your hand starts drifting toward your pocket, pause for just a moment before it gets there. That twitch isn't asking you to scroll, it's the oldest part of your brain, still standing guard at the edge of an ancient tree line, asking you the same question it has asked for hundreds of thousands of years. Not what can numb this, what is actually worth your attention, and what if the answer to that question turns out to be the most interesting thing you do all day?